Good morning, everybody. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. Had to reconnect everything. It decided to go poof. Anyway, good morning. My name is Samantha Mirabal. I'm with Melco's application team and doing our DesignShop talk today. If you have questions while we're live, please type them in the chat. Don't send them to me privately. I don't see those until way after when someone sends them to me. So if you can just type them in on the chat when we're live, I'll see. I have another monitor set up over here that I keep track of them. But we're live on both Facebook and YouTube on a weekly basis. So we used to bounce around days. We're doing them every Thursday now. So let's see. I'm going to start off with the questions that were sent in ahead of time. Like I said, if you have questions while we're live, just type them in. I'm checking both of them to make sure we are actually up. It looks like there's Facebook. Cool. And there is YouTube. So we are good. I'm going to come over here and get going. All right. So starting off, I did want to point this out. We have a new way to submit questions for these talks. In the past, I've always just posted on Facebook, and I know not everyone has Facebook. So Melco's got this form set up now. They posted it here on the September 26th. There's the link to it. There's also the actual thing if you want to type that in. That seems tedious to me, but you know, you can go click on it. Maybe we'll get them put in the chat for you as a link. I don't know if someone's online to help me, but there you go. So that just takes you to a basic Google form. Let's see if I can make it work and I'll show it to you. Where you can go put in your question, upload any folders, files, pictures, things like that. And I will get those and be able to answer them for you. So just another way for you to get questions sent in. So you guys can do that. Oh, good morning, Barbara. Thank you for joining. All right, so I'll start off with these. I've got DesignShop version 9, and I'm trying to get my circle to go a few stitches past. So basically, you got a circle. It starts here. You want it to stop over here, but it's not doing that. It just goes back a little bit. So it just sews in a different direction, and it never gives you what you want. So how do we do it? All right, so I'll show you how I do that. Typically, I've done that when sewing patches on, right? So I created ahead of time. Good morning, Alberta. Thanks for joining. So I actually created the file, but I'll just do it again. So we've got that. So I drew a circle. Let me delete it and talk through what I did. So I clicked on the walk tool. I did the circle input. Yeah, the circle input. I left click, and then I hold my shift key down and drag my mouse, and you see that locks it to a perfect circle. All right, so my circle starts and stops there, and you can see that it just draws in a clockwise direction. All right, well, I want it to come, let's say, over to here. Moving the start and stop is not gonna help. All right, so what I always do is I copy and paste that, and then I add where I want it to end and say split element at that point. Then I come up to this top point and split element, delete this guy, and that leaves me with a little bit of a run stitch overlapping. All I need to do now is make the start there, the stop there. So now what's going to happen is it's going to draw my circle, and then it's going to keep on going on that second little line, overlapping it. Okay, so that's all there is to it, is basically forcing the circle to draw an additional line on top of where you are, and that will have it go past, right? I usually go, when I'm doing patches and stuff, I will purposely overlap maybe 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch. That's just what I like to do. 1 or 2 stitches, I don't think gets enough of overlap for my liking. So, good morning, Sherry. Thanks for joining. So that's how I do it. So again, I just copy the shape that I want, add a point, split it using this guy here, and then I go back to the original point, again, split it using split element, and then I delete the big part of the circle, which I don't want. And there you have it. Okay. Any questions on that? Yeah, so that's to answer this one. All right, I'm trying to stitch a round company logo on a hat. It's coming out distorted, and I'm not able to fix it. because it's pushing everything diagonally up to the left. Yeah, so what ends up happening is I'd have to see the design to give you specific ways to help, but it sounds like to me your stitch direction is driving it. So if you've got fill running one way, it's going to, depending on the direction of the fill, you're going to get some shrinkage in one direction and push in the other, right? So it's going to pull in and it's going to push out. So it sounds like you may have a pull issue going on, or it might just be underlay. I need to look at it, the actual pictures or the actual design, to give you some ideas of what to do for that. Okay, but most of the time, I mean, things to consider when you're sewing on a, this is a really bad example. I was going to show you a lasered thing, but I've got tape all over it. When you're trying to sew a round thing, a round shape, or any shape really, on something that's cylindrical, if I just take a flat shape and put it down on there, it's going to appear as an oval, right? So it depends on what the curvature of the item is that you've got, how much you have to distort it to make it physically look round, right? And quite frankly, that comes with practice of learning how to adjust it to make it appear that. I've done a lot with lasering, and it's the same thing. I have to make things artificially large so that it looks round, otherwise it just looks squished and weird. So yeah, so that's one thing you've got to consider. But like I said, I actually probably think, based on what you're describing, it may actually be a push-pull issue, or maybe underlay, the direction of sew. If you get an image to us, or even send the file, we can take a look at it. All right, now let's see what else. What videos do you recommend for a beginner to start digitizing? All right, so I think there is a link of, there is a list of good resources on the FAQ, but you know, it's always a good idea to come over to Melco's Facebook channel, come over here to playlists, and if you come down, there's these videos here, right? So I always suggest not to start with this one. And while that one's good for learning how to click the buttons, it's really important that you understand what all the properties are and how to edit designs, so that you know when you're digitizing what sort of things you need to change, right? So I always suggest starting with the basics. Well, I would do lettering, then basics, then object properties, then editing. After you do those 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then go into digitizing basics, and then editing and digitizing advanced type topics. The reason being, basics, this is going to show you, you know, what's on the screen. You talk about DesignShop in general. Object properties is really going to go into the details of what density is, what pull compensation is. A lot is covered on there. What else? Pull compensation. Oh my gosh. Let me see. It's going to go into all of this stuff. So it's going to go into your tie-in and tie-outs, your underlay, your pull compensation, the different effects, you know, the top stitching, which is going to be density. So it's going to go over all these properties, what they mean, how they work, why you'd use them, those sorts of things. Okay, and then once you understand that, now the next video is editing, which talks about how you would go about editing shapes, adding holes, removing holes, you know, modifying things. So why is this all relevant? When you're learning to digitize, part of it, you're going to draw something, right? So you're going to create it, you're going to sew it out, and you're going to look at it and go, hey, I love it, or meh, I wish the threads were closer together. Well, unless you understand what property does that, you're not going to know what to go fix, right? So that's why that object property class is really important. Or if you go, hey, why are my lines not lining up? Because you did everything line to line rather than overlap. Well, you need to know how to edit so that you can force the overlap by moving your shape around, right? So it's important to go to understand those things before you go into, you know, this one, which is how to use the tools, meaning how to use all these buttons, right? There's the walk, there's the columns, you've got your fill and your text, and those you can learn pretty quick, right? I can pretty quickly show people how to click the buttons. But then it comes down to practice, right? Working on how to build a design from back to front and things like that. It's all pretty straightforward, and I find it, personally, I find it very easy. But it's, you got to think about it, right? To me, it's a puzzle. How am I going to put a design together so that it sews from back to front in an order that I like, that I minimize my trims, and things like that. So I enjoy the puzzle aspect of it, personally. Okay, so does that help? We did get you a link to getting started videos on DesignShop, so there's a link up there. Okay, so that would be my suggestions. Any questions on that? All right, how to add a new hoop size to my list of hoops. The Hoop Tech back side frame. I tried the shape of the hoop. But the shape of the hoop doesn't show. Okay, so if you don't have the latest hoop database, go update it, because they're all in there. And the hoop databases, I think they're, how to update that is in the FAQ section. And I know it's also on the Fast Clamp. There's a thing for installing the updated hoop database under the Fast Clamp thing on Melco-service. So there's 2 different places you can look for it. But what you would do is up here where the hoop is, if you right click on that, that brings up your hoop manager. From your hoop manager, you go to your customized hoop list, and then you scroll and look for it, right? And they're not in alphabetical order, which makes it extra fun to find. So there's the Hoop Tech side clamp. And then there's another one down here, the Hoop Tech back clamp. So you've got those. Once those are checked, they will show up in my list. So now I can, put them up here and they'll show up. So there's one of them, there's the other one, the back clamp, that guy, apply. So there's that one. So toggling this now, just left click, will show the hoops. Okay, so just get the latest hoop database and they'll be there, and this will toggle the visual side of it for you. Okay, any questions? All right, so those were the only questions I had sent in. Last week we took off, had a hurricane blowing through our state, and my power here, we didn't actually get much impact, but the power kept on flickering and going out and knocking my internet off, so couldn't do the live with that, so yay. But we're back today. What other questions do you have? Let me quick look on the questions. We got some. Oh, Alberto had one. If I have a square or oval shape, how do I change the thread direction within the shape in custom sections? Within the shape in custom sections. Okay, I think what you're asking is about unifill. That probably means nothing to you, that term, but let's go over it. I'm going to delete. So I think what you're asking is this guy right here, complex fill, the unifill input method. I'm going to go ahead and just do it as a normal because that's what most people use, and then we'll add it. A square or oval shape, so I'm going to draw an oval. I got an oval. All right, and you want to change the thread direction within the shape in custom sections. So let's say I want, all right, let's split it up into sections first. So I've got this shape. Right here is my insert splice. So I'm going to click on that guy, and actually I'm going to hold that down and go to this one, which is a curved splice. So I'm going to draw a pie. So I've got that, and then maybe I want a curve here. I don't know. I'm making crap up here. So I've got different shapes drawn, right? All right, so that added splice lines, but now all the stitching is still in one direction. How do I change the stitch direction each of these sections? Well, first off, select the tool, or select the shape. Then right here, I'm going to click on Insert Stitch Directions. So first off, let's say I want that one to be, oops, we'll do it again, don't worry. All right, so I'm going to delete that one because it's annoying me. There we go. All right, so this one's here. I've got that one there, and then I've got this one going that way. So I've got 3 different stitch directions going here, right? Delete. I don't want that one. I want this one here. Maybe. It's angry with me. That's all right. Anyway, so for each of these, I click way too often. So I've made it good and mad. See, I added 3. Anyway, so I've got a stitch direction running this way in this section, one going that way in that one, and one going this one here. Okay. So that's how you would do it. You would insert your splices and then you can change them. You also have this fill island, which you could always do, which adds intermediate, which adds little intermediate holes, if you will, and sections there, where you can add different stitch directions in that section as well. Okay, so lots of choices for you. Great, Alberta, I'm glad that helps. Cool. All right, is there some place to attend for in-person training classes for DesignShop, intermediate level? So there's different ways you can do that. So on Shop Melco, they've got a 4-hour class that's private, and it's not necessarily, it's in-person kind of, it's virtual. So I know when I do them, I set them up as kind of Zooms or equivalent, right? Where we're sharing screens, we can see each other, we can talk, we can share our monitors, and it's all done that way. There's a bunch of people who do them, but yeah, you would go get the 4-hour class and then set it up, and it's personal to what your needs are. So you would say what you want to learn ahead of time. If you have files or things that you want to learn, you can send them over to whoever's going to be training you, and then they work through it all with you, right? So and kind of go into more detail for you. You can also reach out to technicians and they can come to you. Some of them, not all, do digitizing training, so you'd have to check with the different technicians to see if that's something they offer. But you know, the virtual works. It's really nice, I think. So yeah. Any other questions? Let me scroll back through and see if I missed any others. Okay, so I got Alberto's question and Greg's. Greg, does that help? Let's see, and we did get you a link to the personalized DesignShop training, so there's a link for that. All right, any other questions before I call it a day? Because that's actually all the ones that were sent in ahead of time. So I'll hold here for just a little bit in case someone's frantically typing. And that way I don't pop off right before. Here, you want to see another trick with this? I've got a whole bunch of splices on there. Let's say I want each of those sections to be a different color. Thanks, Sherry. Yeah, it's the hurricane. It's pretty awful across the U.S. Here was very minimal, so yeah. Oh, I was going to show a fun thing with this. Operations, break object, and for some reason, my computer is angry today. I need to reboot it. All right, so now I've got these 3 things in separate sections. So now I can give them all different colors. It's a really ugly soccer ball. So you can do that, which is kind of fun. Oh, yeah. Family in Florida. It's hurricanes are always scary down here, right? Because they do so. It's, I don't know. Personally, I'm not scared of the hurricane. I'm scared of the tornadoes that spawn. That's just. I'm a lifelong Floridian, so the hurricane itself doesn't terrify me. The tornadoes that spawn from them do. So anyway, that's another trick you can play with breaking up these. All right. Any other questions before we call it a day? All right, y'all. I will be back next Thursday. So again, we're doing these every Thursday. And remember, we do have that new form you can fill out, particularly helpful if you're not a Facebook user, right? Or you're not in the Facebook groups that I happen to post my little picture in. But anytime you see on, when you separate in colors, does it automatically overlap? It does not. So how do we fix that? Because we want overlap, right? So I can do it a few ways. I can add pull compensation, or my favorite way to do it when I split these is I come and I select object. Oh, I gotta do it one at a time. Properties, object, offset outline, and I'll usually say 2 or 3 points. And then this one, object, offset, outline, 3 points. I do it all the same so the borders all line up still. Object, offset, outline, 1, 2, 3, there. So now everything overlaps. See that? So that's my preferred way, is I'll set whatever overlap I want, and I'll offset all the shapes. So, and now, see that? It all overlaps. Barbara has a question. When you show a circle, you quickly click to get it on the screen. Okay, yeah. So, new file. You can use it as a fill, as a walk, as a single line. It doesn't matter what of these 3 tools, which one you're using. So if I do a complex fill, right here, you'll see there's a circle. If I hold that down, there's more. There's also an ellipse. I'm just going to go with the circle. Same with the square. If I want a perfect square, I can use that. Or there's also a rounded one and a chamfered one. So let's start with the circle. Left click, and now if I drag my mouse, it will do all the stuff. If I want it to be a perfect circle, I hold my shift key down, and notice no matter how much I move, it's locking it to a perfect circle. And now I just left click. All right. So that also works with these. So let's say I want to do a chamfered rectangle. Left click, drag to get my chamfer. There it is. It also works on the walk normal. If I hold that down for my rounded corner one, left click, drag this until I like it, left click again. So all of these like tools down here can work with the complex fill, your single lines, and your walk. Okay, Barbara, does that help? Okay, any other questions while I was rambling? It's raining. All right, cool. I don't see any others coming in, so I am going to call it a day for today. I will be back next week on Thursday. If you have questions, you know, like I said, anytime you see this little screen posted on social media, I post it to usually 3 or 4 groups in Facebook. You can add questions there. You can go to the link, it's in the comments of where to find the little form, and you can fill out the form if you're not into social media, which is cool, and sending your questions there. I'm going to check that every week and add them to the talk. All right, you guys have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe. I know there's a lot going on with storms and recovery from that, so I hope everyone's doing well. I will talk to you next Thursday. Have fun. Bye, everyone.